Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel and give this video a like.
Check out the podcast below in the description as well, people.
The Raiders won on Sunday? One of the weirdest wins of the NFL season, John, because it was for how long is an NFL game? 60 minutes? 60 minutes. We lay it on the field for 59 minutes and 54 seconds. It was a complete embarrassment. And then it was the win of the day. They kept themselves in it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought earlier in the week when I saw Vic Tafur had a tweet that the Jets have been losing by an average of 17 points, and we had talked about it. Feels like the lock of the week. Didn't have the balls to do it because I didn't trust him. And then everyone was tweeting at me like, hey, Middlecoff, I live in New York. I've been going to every Raider game that's come out here, Jets or Giants, the last 20 years. They've never won. And I was like, yeah, I've watched this team long enough. I'm not going to bet on the Raiders covering. And then the more information was like, the bet of the day was take the Jets. But I was like, there is no way I'm betting on the Jets. Zero. I'm like, I can't see it. Then the first drive happens. You realize, well, Sam, not terrible. They got their wide receivers playing. Mims looks pretty good. Crowder's not bad. But then as the game went on, Sam was just shitty. But the Raiders, I mean, Josh Jacobs being out, they don't, like, I'm a big Devontae Booker guy, but, and say what you want about the Jets, they actually do play the run really well. Quinnen Williams is kind of like, looks like a legitimate draft pick. Like, the Raiders would die for Farrell, who had a weird game. Like, he had some moments. What was the tweet you sent me from Duval? Like, the first time that he sacked someone not named Joe Flacco or Eli
Joe
Manning
or
Phillip Rivers.
But it's because Joe Flacco is on the Jets that he hasn't sacked anyone without Joe Flacco in the building. No, he's never had a sack without Rivers or Flacco in the building. That's the stat.
Until today. Oh, but
well,
it didn't count today because Flacco's there.
Flacco's there.
Yeah, okay.
It was his first sack since December 22nd, 2019.
I got you. It's probably he had some sacks last year against Denver, but Flacco was on the Broncos, so he's either sacking Flacco or sacking Drew Lock. I follow that. Makes sense, actually. It didn't quite hit me when you said it, but now it crystallizes. But, Guy, they were down 28-24, I mean, fucking the end of the game. And they had, when Derek didn't get the touchdown, and really remember on that drive before they had to punt it back and then Derek ultimately threw the game winner, they kind of, I don't want to say bailed out, but anytime on like a fourth and whatever with the game on the line that you get a penalty flag, there is some element of luck, right? It was one of those where I bet a lot of people on their couch were like, oh, that was lucky.
Yeah.
In the sense that you just, and listen, it happened. I'm not saying it's one of those lucky things that every team experiences that, but on 4th and 5 or 4th and 10, when there's under 2 minutes and you don't have time, you don't have the full, barrel of timeouts, it's like, this is the game. Right. And then when the flag comes out, it was pretty nuts. Now they ended up not getting it because they ended up, turning it over on downs because Derek threw. It's weird. And I text you this today, and I think most Raider fans will agree. Even the game-winning touchdown, he throws these lollipops, and when I say that, these huge overarching balls. And Russell Wilson does the exact same.
The one
those
Russell
two guys
at the end
to
of
me
the game was the biggest one he's ever thrown. Game.
I would say those two guys consistently when they throw deep balls. Now, Russell hits them all. Derek is not that accurate with the lollipop. Like, sometimes it hits the guy in stride. The problem, sometimes he underthrows it, and sometimes he overthrows it, which is weird because, like, Rodgers is a good example. Rodgers can throw that, but how often do you see him, and I think Mahomes is like this too, puts more of it on a line? Where it's like, I'm either going to overthrow it or hit my guy, but I'm not going to allow the underthrow to happen. And I think Derek sneaky does the underthrow with guys that are wide open. And my overall takeaway today that they pulled this thing kind of out of their ass is that they have no shot to make the playoffs if Derek plays like he did the last two games. He's not good enough given that where they are right now as a team.
Their defense is not good enough for him to play that way.
Yeah, he was too, like, I felt today, like that Chiefs game and other games this year, I'm confident he's going to make some plays. I didn't have much confidence in him today. Like, I don't think he's going to do it. And I would imagine most people watching, you just kind of lose because he's a rhythm guy. So when he's out of rhythm.
He was so off with some of his throws, right?
Yeah.
And to underthrow Aguilar on the ball that May recovers, then to miss him over the top, and I think you texted me this, How many times at the end of a game do you see not one in that situation where it's clearly it's all or nothing, to have two guys open in the end zone on back-to-back plays? Now, the Aguilar throw would have been – he would have had to really fit it in there, but he didn't give him a chance. He threw it out of the back of the end zone. Shows how strong his arm is. And then to have Ruggs. But he also missed – was it Aguilar, kind of the near side, right end zone, trying to run up, take a step against the blitz, and didn't even give him a chance. So you're right. He was pretty off today.
Aguilar sneaky gets open a lot, does he not?
It's not even sneaky anymore, right? He's just open all the time. And then credit, by the way, for Ruggs, who had the interception I thought was more on him than it was on Derek Carr.
I agree. The fumble was bad.
And maybe Greg Williams helps you out. Maybe you don't want to win the game anyway if you're the Jets. I would subscribe to that. But you're right.
Do you have a huge problem with just blitzing everybody to end the game? I know everyone on Twitter, the football guys, are saying it's crazy.
If we took Twitter out of it, because I want to say no, I don't have a problem with it. Partly I know myself to be anti-Twitter. But I do have a problem after they just hit you over the top. There's only one thing they can do.
Because the aerial shot is wild. You're like, well, they only got 3 guys back. Because I think part of it, right, the majority of games in the NFL do come down, I'd say on a given day, on a Sunday, wouldn't you say 4 or 5 games come down to a situation like that where teams at midfield and I'd say pretty consistently, maybe they blitz one guy, but they got a crew of homies back by the end zone, right?
And it works all the time. It consistently works because it's hard to throw that. And the other thing is, you've got Henry Ruggs.
The Raiders did it to Darnold, right? When they did that weird squib kick, and then Darnold got the ball at the 50, and for what, Darnold, you can't get the ball in the end zone when you're running up on it. That was a little weird.
We talked about this too. His arm. Wow.
But you notice they just dropped everyone back to leave a guy, Lamar Jackson Jr., I guess his name is Lamar Jackson, one-on-one with, I don't know if he's the fastest guy in the league, but he's definitely a top 2 or 3, is pretty nuts. I mean, that's and then he bites on the double move. Bro, there's 10 seconds left.
Well, but if Ruggs had got over the middle, I think he was going to be wide. Either way, I think that's the other thing. You tell Greg Williams is you've had guys running wide open that they've missed. Your guys clearly can't cover them, right?
I saw someone tweet, like a legitimate football person, you could ask if they were trying to throw the game. And I would say, and my pushback, though, is why does Greg Williams, though, or even Gase, they're not going to be here. So it's I would just disagree that they tried to throw that game, even though it's indirectly they kind of did throw the game.
You could ask that.
Or not throw the game, but just give the Raiders the best chance humanly possible to hit it.
Greg Williams' ego's too big for that. There's no way.
Well, is Greg Williams the defensive coordinator in the league next year after he's been the defensive coordinator now but he's on 2 of 4 teams that have gone 0-16 in the last 5 years.
I know.
He's on 2 0-16 teams now in the last.
But they don't score points. This was an aberration today. They don't, as a team, score points.
Not all his fault. No.
The other thing is this is the problem with having a coach who you're gonna fire still around.
Here's my question, because a lot of Raider fans were tweeting at me during the game. Just basically halfway through the fourth quarter when it was going back and forth. Are the Raiders going to lose this game? Basically just the statement, Gruden cannot lose this game. And he's won the game, but it does feel a little bit like they basically kind of lost it. It's a pretty big indictment on year 3, coming off a bad loss, and you can't really shove it down the Jets' throats. It would have felt pretty bizarre to watch.
Yeah, it would have felt like a fork in the road if they had lost the game. Just we don't know where it's going. Gruden still got plenty of time left on his contract. There's still a lot to go. But it did feel like it would have been after the Falcons game to come out and lose that game with the playoffs on the line. Would have felt like a game that 3 years from now you go back and go, yeah, we started on a different path when the Raiders lost to the Jets, just in terms of how we view the organization under John Gruden. So they kept they
could easily play the Colts this week and lose by a couple touchdowns, and you go, well, really, that was just But the way the NFL works, there's a chance they look good against the Colts. That's why it's just I'm not confident in them anymore. I don't even view them really as a playoff team guy. I've been texting to people today. I think they're not going to make it. I don't have faith in them getting in. We're just a couple weeks ago. I just view them dramatically different these last 2 weeks. Now, part of it, here would be my one pushback. They're on the road. Derek Carr, fans or no fans, I don't have as much faith as him on the road. clearly it wasn't freezing cold, but it was, you could see your breath. And like, he's not a cold weather quarterback. He does get to control the environment these next 3 weeks at home where they're clearly comfortable in the dome. Like now the Colts are a dome team too, but to me, it's a pretty big advantage that they get to just win this game, take a deep breath, and get the Colts at home. Because you would just say, well, based off those 2 games, there's no chance they're beating the Colts. But I don't necessarily feel that way, which is weird.
I don't feel that way. Now, here's the other thing. The Dolphins right now are a playoff team.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll do it. I mean, they're in right now, so I shouldn't bet against them necessarily, but I still feel like there's one of the teams that is in right now is not going to be in when it's all said and done. Cleveland, I've been banging on them all year. Now, Stefanski, they pulled some plays out. Just the highlights I saw that game. He ran some plays that you and I have been pro Stefanski. I think we're anti-Baker, but they're 9-3. So whatever you think, they're 9-3. Like, I can't keep talking trash about them. Right?
And they still have a game against the Jets. So like they're a lock to 10. They still got the Giants. They do have the Ravens and Steelers, but
and they're talented and their coach is good.
I think they kind of unofficially made the playoffs today. I mean, they're 9-3, like you said.
They have the 3rd most wins in the AFC. They just happen to be in Pittsburgh's division.
They're in pretty good shape.
Just
they're definitely
Pittsburgh's 11-0. It's just they would be leading a lot. They'd be leading a lot of divisions in the league.
I know we talk a lot about the Raiders beating the Chiefs. Like the Raiders kind of handling the Browns was a pretty good win, right? Like they went on the road to Cleveland and kind of shoved them around like 16-6. Like that win. The Raiders have some really good wins. They fucking beat the shit out of the Saints with Breeze. They went and really shoved around the Browns. I mean, the score actually was closer in the game. The Browns were not very good in that game, remember? They really struggled to move the ball. Baker was terrible. And then beating the Chiefs was big. So, I mean, the Saints, Browns, Chiefs, those are 3 legitimate playoff teams. I mean, the Chiefs, to me, are the game's going on as we're recording this, heavy favorites to win the whole thing. The Saints are in pretty fucking good position. And like you said, the Browns having the best season, it feels like, in our lifetime. So it's...
It really does feel that way. It might be.
That's where the Raiders today, they actually, if they all of a sudden they beat the Colts, you're going to be feeling pretty good about it and winning. You don't get style points in the NFL. This is not college football. So, yeah, you had a walk-off touchdown basically to beat one of the worst teams we've ever seen.
John, they're minus 173 point differential this year, the Jets.
But it won't matter if they win 2 of the next 3 games.
It won't.
Right?
But you have to. But again, you have to go do it. And this franchise now, so many times, pre-Gruden and certainly under Gruden, has had these moments where it's like, okay, you're walking a thin line, you're tightroping it, time to step it up. This is that week.
Yeah.
And they failed to do it.
Their defense is atrocious. It's really bad. No pass rush. Their team speed on defense is bad. Trayvon Mullen's not bad at all, but David Arnett, it looked like 2 concussions back-to-back weeks. That's a bad sign, right? Yep. Jonathan Abram is just hurt.
A lot.
Their pass rush is just kind of non-existent. I mean, the Jets' offensive line beside one guy is good, and that guy is good. I mean, it's like no wonder they keep running to the left. He picks up, and I don't even blame Cleveland Farrell, whatever. That guy's got a chance to be just a pretty special player. He's just huge, and he can move. Like the one thing with the Jets is like him and Mims. I mean, those look like you got at least 2 pieces on offense out of the. I had moments where I was like, okay, Sam, and then other moments I don't think quite as highly as Sam.
Yeah, to me the arm strength issue just shows up a lot.
Like his trade value. I mean, what's he really getting traded for? 3rd round pick at best.
You would need a team who just was in love with him coming out and thinks. And you could talk yourself into, well, just franchise is such a train wreck, right?
Even then, though, like it does not quite look what I think. Like to me, wouldn't you say a first rounder is not even in the question? Like you're not getting a first rounder for this player.
You're not.
You to me it would be negligent on your part as the other team. Like he's not worth that much. You're paying. Because his ceiling, you just watch him on the field with Derek, like the physical gifts are not even remotely in the same conversation, right?
Nope.
And Sam is not a rookie anymore. I don't want to be too big of a negative Nancy here, but I kind of left like, oh, I don't know if he's just. he's just not that great.
Well, one thing is clear, right? There's not really any debate about what you do with your first overall pick if you're the Jets.
No. See you.